Alrighty, welcome to the Mediacurrent Contrib Half-Hour. It is February 17th, halfway through February, just over halfway through February. And today we're going to have a look at some news issues and Q&A. Let's kick off with usual housekeeping. My name is Damien McKenna. I'm the community lead at Mediacurrent. He's a pronouncing him. I've been involved in the Drupal community since 2007. Do a bunch of stuff, but people recognize me as that guy with the bunny ears who hops around the issue queues. My time is sponsored by Mediacurrent. We're a full-service digital agency that implements world-class open-source software development strategy and design to achieve defined goals for enterprise organizations seeking a better return on investment. And we love working with Drupal. These meetings are set up as a community project. Go to drupal.org/project/contrib_half_hour to see the upcoming schedule. And if you leave a comment in today's issue, you'll get issue credit when I get to post the videos. If we adhere to the Drupal Code of Conduct, go to drupal.org/DCOC if you have not read it recently. And the schedule is wide open. If you have some topics you'd like us to take a look at, please let me know. Or post a comment in the planning issue. So some news from around the Drupalsphere. This week, there was a security update for Drupal 9. So 9.3 got an update, 9.2 got an update. If you're still on 9.1 or 9.0 or 8, definitely time to update. The security fix affected the form system, and there was a related fix for the quick edit module that is actually been moved into Contrib land for Drupal 10. So it's included in Drupal 9, but it is being moved out into Contrib world because so few people actually use it. And for the quick edit bug, the simplest thing to do to avoid it is just uninstall that module if you're not using it. If your site is using it, then just hope that the folks who have access to it are people that you trust to not start hacking away at things. It's not a super critical thing. I personally doubt most sites would run into the situation that the quick edit bug opens up, but just to be sure. I know personally that I don't think I've worked on a site in the past number of years that used it. We occasionally use the contextual menu, but not so much quick edit these days. So on another topic, work is continuing on testing out the GitLab continuous integration system that is intended to replace all of the custom code that the Drupal community uses for all of the automated testing. If you have time to try it out on your own Contrib module that's on drupal.org, please join the GitLab channel in Drupal Slack. And they're also always looking for people to help to improve the configuration. Right now, the plan is to finish coming up with a template config file that all the projects can use and make it as simple as possible to use. Because right now we're used to just doing a couple of checkboxes and stuff to turn that on It's a slightly different system with GitLab CI. So help there would be appreciated. On a vastly different note, a coworker mentioned this page the other day that describes all of the swanky things you can do with HTML forms these days, thanks to HTML5 that came out so long ago. I should have known this stuff. But there were a couple of things that I didn't know about. For example, there's a search type for the input field that informs the browser that what the specific field is for. And there's an email type that makes the browser the browser itself can validate that you've typed in something that looks kind of like an email address. And there are a number of others. So lots of interesting stuff there. It's worth taking a look through if you haven't, if it's been a while since you looked through HTML specifications, because who's got time for that? Excuse me. Let me see. One other thing that has come up is with the world still going through second year of about to start third year of the COVID support and whatever, is that events are starting to go back in person, but some of them are adding all sorts of rules and stuff in, I guess, an effort to make sure that people don't spread COVID. But as has been seen all over the world, basically those measures are not working the way that the PR has recommended. So I put out a request to the Florida Drupal camp that's running this week to remove their COVID passport requirement, because ultimately it's useless at this point. So you can find that on the FLDC project if you're interested in reading more, and all of the links I provided. But something to consider. So moving on from there, anybody have anything they'd like to share? If not, we can take a look at your issues. Anybody have anything that they'd like to look at? If not, let's see if I can minimize. So one thing that I ran into this week, in the past 2 weeks or so, was the module, where is it? Views RSS. This is an add-on for the Views module's ability to output an RSS feed, because the basic functionality provided by core in Drupal 9 and then by the Views module in Drupal 7 is a little limited, and the RSS specification is rather wide open for extensions to be added. So rather than trying to bundle every single possible thing into Views, the Contrib module, or Views in core, this module was built as an extension to that to give you more options, basically. And it is split into a kind of suite of modules with the base Views RSS module that provides a number of additional things and additional fields to set up. And then there are submodules for more audience specific functionality. So for example, there's a submodule for adding geographical metadata to the feed. There's one for adding some specific attributes and elements that iTunes needs. There's another for pub sub hubbub. That is just too funny not to say. I built one myself last week for a small newspaper site for adding extra values that the Smart News service needs. And right now it is only available as a, well, not only available, but there's a release candidate available for Drupal 7 that I'm going to do a little work on to stabilize and release as a 2.0 release. And then there's a work in progress for Drupal 9 in the 8.x 2.x branch. So I thought it'd be worth taking a quick look at it. When you want to add it to your site, it is an add-on module. You need views to run it. Views UI is optional. Presuming you need Views UI to build the initial display or the initial feed. But it comes as a collection of a couple of related modules. There's the main Views RSS module that's kind of a wrapper for and provides the APIs that other modules implement. Then there's the format one that provides a custom format version of format XML elements to make it easier to do certain things for feeds. And there's an extra one called core elements. Let me start with just the base Views RSS module first. Turn that on and see what happens. So the idea is once you install it in the Views UI, you create a feed of whatever data type you want, but I'm going to not create a page. You need to save it first and then change the format. Which one was it? Ah, that's it. Where am I? Create a feed. That's the first step. And the feed format is RSS Feed Fields. A little hard to follow, but the idea is that the Views RSS feed or the Views RSS module gives you this infrastructure to add extra options here. So you have an option to combine all of the namespaces so they're not extra tags. We'll see later on, I guess. And then there's some extra options. A key one is to replace relative paths with absolute URLs so that in the feed values later on that each item, if it outputs a URL that is a relative URL, it'll automatically convert it to an absolute URL. And that's on by default. So out of the box, it doesn't have much, but you need to change the feed or the content display to RSS Feed Fields. And then you can start adding fields. So let's say date. So let's comment it now. Authored on, then author. We'll do the author by. So we're going to add 2 fields. Don't want a link for now, and then formatter. I think it'll actually take care of that automatically. So once you add some fields there, under, let's see, where is it? The format settings. Wait, no. I'm missing some details because let's save what we have. Let's set a path. Okay, fine. Feeds test .xml. Save. Okay. You have to enable core elements module to have access to basic feed elements. So thankfully, it gives a warning that we need this extra thing. So if you go back to the modules page, then because out of the box, as you saw, there wasn't much there. You need to enable this extra module. Why it's a separate thing, I don't know, given it's kind of a requirement for RSS feed or RSS structures. Let's try saving again. All right, so now we should be able to go to the settings here. Where is it? I wonder if it's stuck. I wonder if I wonder if it really is stuck, because I cannot set the elements that are needed. Can't set the elements because they're based on hooks and it caches the hooks. So let me clear the caches, come back to this form and see if it'll let me finish off. Now does it get, okay, there we go. So after clearing the caches, now we have this extra option in the feed styles options for channel element core. So need, by default, it fills in the default site mission. I think it means is the site slogan. Let's fill something in, the site slogan. Fill in language, category, image, etc., copyright, all sorts of default options for, this is kind of the parent metadata for the feed itself. For each individual item, there are other options. And a tiny pop-up. So this is where it needs us to set the title. And I'm going, let's see, what other fields do I have? Author is authored by. Category, not worried about that. Enclosure, not worried. Pub date, authored on. So let's save that. And I'm going to add the path. Where's the path as a URL? Link to content. It was renamed. I was setting it up the other day on a Drupal 7 site, and on Drupal 7 it's called content path. And here it is on Drupal 9, link to content. So let's go back into the item elements and change the link to link to content. And also one important field is the GUI, GUID. And that is suggested to be the URL, but you could also do it to the URL. It's usually set up as the URL alias. You could also set it to the system URL, so node/whatever. But here's a preview of what the feed looks like. And one thing you'll notice is it is outputting links that you don't want. So let's change the link to content. Change it to just show the URL style settings. Let's see. Just give an option to, okay. So there's an option on the URL, on the link to content field itself to output as an absolute URL. Let's look at the preview again. So now we have the GUID is a better value. It's the full URL. The source URL here is for some reason being replaced by views, which is a little weird. So it's outputting the URL to, I don't know. That's the URL it shows in the source URL is to the preview as it was generated, which is very bizarre. It's not taking the values from the feed itself. But it's getting other things like the title is filled in. Let me change title because we don't want a link. We just want the raw title. So first item title is testing, has a link that is absolute link. Description I didn't set, author is coming through correctly. And pub date, I wonder if it probably needs a custom formatter for the pub date. I'll have to look into that. And then the source URL. So this is basically how you build up your RSS feed. And I'm going to collaborate on bring the module to Drupal 9. Excuse me, get it working there. Because the new site wants a slightly customized RSS feed. And this seems to be a reasonable way of doing it. Have you tried using it, Darren? Or any experience building custom RSS feeds?
I've used Views to build custom RSS feeds. I don't recognize this one though.
So might have missed the beginning, but it's the Views RSS module suite that is kind of a half replacement, half extension of cores and the Views modules RSS output. But it's built as kind of an ecosystem with lots of add-ons so that because RSS is kind of an open standard, lots of companies have added their own additions to the standard. And rather than hacking away with pre-processed functions and templating and all sorts of weird stuff, you have a set of modules that you plug together so that you can all build it and customize it from the UI.
That's nice.
So it works. And it kind of works on Drupal 9. It definitely needs more work. And for building new plugins on Drupal 9 and Drupal 7, it uses a set of hooks that are relatively straightforward, but I'm going to see if I can improve it a little bit. So we'll see. One more toy to play with. All right. Anything you'd like to look at, Darren?
Don't have time today, but yeah, after Florida Drupal camp, I'd like to.
Cool. All right. Well, let's leave it there for this week. Thanks for joining us. Hope everything goes well at Florida Drupal camp, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you.